What's up, you guys? It's Ashling. Welcome back to my channel. Please ignore my hair today. It is something special. I don't know what is going on with it. I just threw it up into like a bun and I was like, let's get going with the day because this hun bun is just, it's the best it's gonna get. Anyway, today I am testing out a new foundation. This one is from Revolution, Makeup Revolution. It's called the Conceal and Hydrate. They had the Conceal and Define out last year, and I really liked that foundation. I wouldn't say it's like my favorite foundation of all time. When I initially tried it at first, I really liked the longevity of it and how it looked on my skin. However, over time of using it, I just kind of discovered other things, fell out of love with it, whatever. I haven't really used it much lately, but I'm interested to try and see what the Conceal and Hydrate is like. Now, Hydrate, obviously, you know what I'm like with my oily skin. It's not going to be the best probably for me, although I am premature in saying that because I don't know. I do have the Conceal and Define here with me. It looks like that. It's pretty similar packaging wise to the Conceal and Hydrate, except for it has like a bright pink label and this has like a kind of white label. The bottle shapes are the same size. They're both in frosted glass bottles. The lid is a little bit larger on the Conceal and Hydrate because it has a pump, which is like the best thing ever. Because if you know the Conceal and Define, it has a doe foot wand, which I don't think a lot of people were too keen on this, and I would definitely be one of those people. I think that's probably why I don't wear this foundation as much, as the applicator bothers me. I don't like it and I just don't reach for the foundation for that reason. I don't hate the formula, but the formula is quite drying. It's great for me, especially in the summer months, to keep me matte, but in the winter months it's just a little bit too drying on my skin because I feel like my skin does go through a little bit of a transition in the winter months and it just gets a little bit dehydrated and I get dry patches, and I feel like this can cling to them. The time I really want to be kept matte is in the summer months, and I just feel like this consistency is just very heavy for summer. If you want to see my full review on it, I'll leave it linked down below. I kind of have the same thoughts as I did in that video. Since using it like a year on, I wouldn't say like I love it or I hate it. I'm kind of just like, that's alright. You know what I mean? I don't have strong opinions on it either end. So I'm interested to see what the Conceal and Hydrate is like. The coverage of the Conceal and Define was so full coverage and it just lasts all day on the skin. It didn't break down on me. It could have the tendency to look a little bit cakey and heavy. So I'm interested to see if this will look a little bit lighter on my skin or a little bit more of kind of the look that I'm going for with foundations lately. I kind of prefer a little bit more of the like lighter consistencies, like the L'Oreal 24-hour fresh wear. Love that. I really like the new Naked Skin that came out from Urban Decay. I love my Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk. Used to hate it, love it now. My preferences have just changed in foundation, so I'm interested to see what I think of this. So one difference I've noticed straight off the bat is this is described as full coverage, whereas the new Conceal and Hydrate is described as a medium / full coverage, so it might be a little less coverage than the original Conceal and Define. I bought my foundation off Beauty Bay. It was $10.75. It comes in, I think, 50 shades. Like, there are so many shades. The shade I selected was 10.2. It said it's for deeper medium skin tones with a neutral undertone, so I thought that sounded like it would appeal to me. Now looking at this website, 10 said it was medium skin tones with golden undertones. I feel like that might be more me. I have a little bit more golden in my skin. Just when I tan naturally, it goes more like of a goldeny kind of colour than like neutral. I warm up a little bit, if that's what I'm trying to say. My undertone gets a bit warmer. I'm very unsure about my undertone. Like, I think I'm neutral. Sometimes I might be like a little bit on the warm. I don't know. I'm not really 100% sure. The shade selection in this is really good. Just like the Conceal and Define, I had major issues with Conceal and Define. I went between F8 all the way up to F12 and a mix in between. So I will show you the shade that I have in this and then compare it to the other two that I have from the Conceal and Define. So this is described as a hydrating foundation infused with hyaluronic acid. That sounds nice. I like the sounds of the hyaluronic acid. And it hydrates thirsty complexions. That's a thing that I actually have noticed with my skin. Even though I'm oily, I feel like my skin is a little bit dehydrated at the moment. I'm drinking tons. I just feel like it's the transition between summer into autumn. This said that it plumps skin for a smoother satin glow finish. It says that it's formulated to suit every skin tone, but especially dry. So it's kind of targeting a little bit more towards the dry skins. And the foundation offers all day radiance and glow without setting into fine lines or clinging to dry patches. natural. It's cruelty free. It also comes in a concealer. I'm waiting for the concealer. The concealer came out on Beauty Bay's website kind of after this, so I had to place like 2 orders. We'll probably talk about the concealer in a separate video once it arrives. So if you're new to my channel and you've never seen me do first impressions, I usually prime one side of my face and I use a beauty blender and a brush on either side just to kind of compare how it applies with either tool. I'm generally an NC 35 to, I can even go up to a 40 in the summer from MAC, if that's any comparison. I'll leave a couple of links to other foundations, shades down below, just in case you wanted to get your shade, because I do realise that there's like 50 shades from this foundation. There's a lot to offer. I'm having a mare of a morning. I just tried to find my favourite primer from Catrice and I have no idea where I put it, so now I have to use something else and I'm really annoyed because that's the only thing I wanted to use. So I'm going to take my other favourite primer, which is the LA Girl Pro Prep Primer. I already have foundation on. I already have moisturiser on, so I use the Clinique Moisture Surge. Almost was going to say Catrice again there. I love this primer because it really blurs out my pores and imperfections. It's a lovely primer, but I've just been loving the Catrice one as of late. Like, I just think that that is fab. I actually need to repurchase this. We're almost out, and I'm going to apply nothing to the left side just to see how the foundation performs without a primer. Okay, so like I said, this comes with a pump. Excellent, very happy about that. I have hairs all over me, so I'm just going to pump that out into the back of my hand. Oh, it's a lot runnier of a consistency than the Conceal and Define, which I found to be quite thick. I'm going to use it on a flat top kabuki brush. This is the F80 from Sigma. It's the one I always use. So I'm just going to apply this to the right side of my face, the side that I have the primer on. Oh, actually, that shade doesn't look too bad. I was kind of worried that it would be a little bit too neutral for my skin and not warm enough, but I actually think it's fine. Like, I actually think that shade is pretty perfect. This is gliding on over the primer. Like, I mean gliding over my skin. It's really easy to spread and just feels really smooth on the skin. Like, it looks so nice on my skin. I know I just applied this foundation, but I am used to foundations, and this glides on super nice to the skin, and it's just evened out my complexion. And it doesn't look heavy. Like, it looks so nice on my skin. Great, my battery just died and I have no idea what I was talking about. But I think I was moving on to this side of my face. So I'm just going to apply another pump of this foundation to the back of my hand. And I'm going to go in with my beauty blender. I really liked how it went on with the brush. So I want to see, does it go on nicer with the beauty blender? To be careful at this side of my mouth and my jaw. I got a root canal yesterday. And I'm just a little bit sensitive, a lot sensitive from like the injections. This is not nice. The actual root canal itself was fine. It was more the needles going into my jaw that hurt. Straight off the bat, and this is unusual for me to say, I prefer the beauty blender side. I prefer how this applies with the beauty blender. I do think it applies really nice with the brush, but I am seeing brush strokes with it. So, I mean, that's easily fixed. But I just like the appearance of it a bit better, I think, with the Beauty Blender. I did think, because this was a more liquidy foundation, that the Beauty Blender might eat up some of the product, like more so than the brush side. But it's actually not. It's applying it quite evenly and quite nice. I would definitely agree this is more of a satin finish foundation, so it's not matte, and I don't think it's like really hydrating looking. I really like the appearance of it. In fact, I actually think it's quite nice on my skin. It makes my skin look luminous, radiant, and fresh at the same time without like masking my skin or making my face look like too cakey or anything. Initially applying this straight off the bat, I prefer the Conceal and Hydrate to the Conceal and Define, but that might change throughout the day because my natural oils are going to come through and I feel like this might look a little bit oily on my skin because it is kind of looking dewy and fresh on my skin right now, and it's a very warm day here in Ireland. It's like 25 degrees. It's September. I don't know where this weather's come from, but it's super warm. So I feel like my face may get a little bit sweaty. It's quite fresh looking on my skin. It's not sinking into any fine lines. I feel like the coverage from it is great. It's a little bit sticky to touch. I haven't sat it, so it is quite sticky at the moment. I have a little breakout here. It's covered it and it hasn't attached to the dry skin around it. And I have like a little bit of dryness just around my nose here, and it hasn't attached to it either. It's just gone after 10. Guys, so I'm gonna try and wear this for the full day, and I'll check in with you through like intermittent times in the day. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. I'll pop back in throughout the day to see how it goes. Oh, and I just want to go through the shades as well, just with you guys. So I have F10 here from the Conceal and Hydrate, and it is my perfect match in my opinion, so that's it there. This is F8 from Conceal and Define, which is just a little bit lighter. The undertone to that is my perfect undertone. So F8 is like my perfect undertone to my skin, but just the actual shade is just a little bit pale. And then I have F12, which is what I mix it with, which again is almost a perfect undertone to my skin, but it's just a bit too deep for the winter months. So that's why I mix it with F8. So there's the shades. That's F10.2 in the Conceal and Hydrate, F8 from Conceal and Define, and F12 from Conceal and Define. So they're just the shades there on my arm. I hope you guys can see. So that's F12 is obviously suiting me a little bit more now because we're in summer, but we're just leaving summer. But I always get like a little bit of a colour in the summertime. F8's much paler, but the undertones to all of those are pretty spot on to my undertone to my skin. So anyway, I'll check in with you guys later and we'll see how we're getting on. Hey guys, so I'm back for like my first proper update of the day. It is just gone 3:15. I want to get a good look at it. Sorry, I was looking for my mirror. I want to have a good look at what the foundation looks like. Also, when I was putting my makeup on, doing the eyes and stuff, because I'm testing out Essence eyeshadow palettes, I'll link that down below. That video will be up before this one. The doorbell rang and it was my Beauty Bay order. So I got the Conceal and Hydrate concealer and I tested that out and I did it in a separate video because I thought that might be a bit interesting. I'm comparing it to the Conceal and Define concealer just to see what the difference is between them. So that video will be coming soon as well. So that was just like a miracle. Sitting down here filming and then that order arrived. Fantastic. I feel like the concealer went on lovely over the foundation. I do feel like this foundation is quite matte on my skin. Even though this is a hydrating radiant foundation, it looks very matte on me. I love it though. I love how satiny matte it looks like velvet on my skin. I think I prefer this to the Conceal and Define foundation. It is sinking a little bit into my fine lines, just my smile lines. I have awful issues with that lately. No matter what foundation I'm wearing, they're sinking into my fine lines. It's just like from smiling and getting older, and there's like obviously like a little bit of a line there. So most foundations kind of gravitate in there and they kind of just sink in. So I'm not really that worried about the foundation doing that. I just don't want it to do it any more than what it's doing. I notice on the prime side as well, it has not sunk into my pores. It has a little bit on the unprime side, but that's not a major issue. I'll just wear primer. In between my brows, it's kind of sunk in a little bit to that fine line that I have in there, but it hasn't really sunk into my frown lines too much, which again, I generally have an issue with that. Like foundations just gravitate in there. The aging process is not fun, I'll tell you that. Wear lines on the face, but I mean, they're roadmaps to where you've been in your life. It isn't caking, it isn't like clinging to dry patches, nothing like that. It looks super pretty on my skin and it feels very lightweight. That's one thing I noticed over the Conceal and Define. I find the Conceal and Define to be very heavy. I wore it to a wedding last November or December, I can't remember, but I just remember being at the wedding feeling like my skin was just caked in makeup. I just felt like it was so heavy. Everything sits on top of it really well and looks nice. I will check in with you later and we'll see how we're getting on, especially around the 8-hour mark, 9-hour mark. It seems to be when things either go downhill. It's like how I know if a foundation is for me. It either looks crap at that stage or it's like a winner chicken dinner. So I will talk to you guys in a little bit. Hey guys, so it is now 6:29, which means that this foundation has been on for just shy of 8 hours, or actually just around 8 hours. I have been outside working all day. My eyelashes are actually coming off because my eyes are watering so bad from the sun and just the glare off my laptop. I was working outside, not a good idea, especially with a laptop. I probably have blown it up because it's so hot right now. I'm actually quite happy with the look of this foundation, especially considering I've been outside all day. I definitely had in my mind that this foundation was gonna be more suitable for drier skin and it was gonna look really luminous and radiant and just basically my oils were not going to be held back from it. But it actually looks really nice on my skin. It looks quite fresh and it still looks as nice as it was when I put it on 8 hours ago. It hasn't really changed that much. I honestly can't really say I have that much to report back on. Generally, if a foundation is looking extremely oily on me or it's just not looking flattering, I tend to have more feedback for you guys. But when a foundation looks good like this, I don't really have that much to say. It's looking definitely a bit better on the prime side in regards to like sinking into pores. I had sunglasses on and there's a tiny little bit of rubbing on either side. I would be pretty happy if I was wearing this to work or like on a long day at school or in college or whatever. If you have drier skin, I think you're going to like this a lot too, because I don't feel like my skin is dehydrated or really dry or too matte or anything like that. So I'm hoping when I come back in a few more hours I'll have a little bit more to say about the foundation, but right now I'm very happy. I will talk to you guys in a few more hours. Hi guys, so I'm just back at the end of the night. It's gone 10:38. So this foundation has been on for 12 hours. I'm so sleepy. I've edited like 6 videos today because I'm trying to get everything up and ready for the weekend. I haven't really looked at the foundation much. I just went to the bathroom and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was noticing I was a little bit oily. It has sunken in a lot to this line on this side and on the other side and in between my brow, and it is caking just a tiny bit around my nose. It has separated on my nose and rubbed a little bit. My chin is quite oily and there's just a little tiny bit of caking just in between the brows, but nothing kind of crazy. It still looks pretty decent. Like, I'm looking at it super up close and obviously I'm being really critical of it because it's like a wear test. So I normally put like foundations through the ringer when I do a wear test. I'm not that kind to them because obviously I want to tell you the pros and cons of the foundation. There's no rubbing, no transferring, nothing like that, other than those like little areas that I talked about. I'm pretty happy with the way it looks on my skin. All my products have sat on top of it still intact. Nothing has melted or kind of worn off, and like I said, I was in the sun at my last check-in, so I was in the heat and my skin was exposed to the heat and therefore I was sweating a bit more, and it still looks pretty good. It hasn't oxidized or anything or changed with my natural oils coming through. It's held my natural oils actually back as best as possible. I have not blotted or applied powder at all day, and I think that's the first foundation I've ever done that with on my channel ever. Normally I would blot at some stage. I think I do prefer the prime side just a little bit more than the unprime side, but I honestly don't have a preference, so I would wear this foundation with or without a primer. And just showing it now up close, just where you can kind of see where it's sunk into my fine lines either side here. Like, it isn't like crazy, but it's probably like one of the worst foundations for sinking into those fine lines that I've used in a while. There's nothing kind of mad going on in between my brows. It's sinking a little bit there, but nothing in my frown lines, which is good. A little bit of wearing off just around my nose, and on the tip of my nose there's a little bit of wearing, and just a tiny bit of caking on either side. I don't know if that's evident on camera, if you can even see that. And it still feels quite lightweight. So I'm just going to go through a few pros and cons of this foundation for me. Number 1, the price point is great. Number 2 is the selection of shades. I think it is fantastic. Number 3, it comes with a pump, which I'm delighted about. I also love the way it applied earlier today. Like, it just went smoothly onto my skin. And you can use this with a beauty blender and it doesn't soak up all the products. I hate that about some more liquidy foundations. They just kind of like soak up the product. I hate that. For me, being oily, this has held back my oils, but it also has left me kind of having like more satin kind of skin. Like, it's not matte, which I do really like as well, because sometimes I can find matte foundations just to look a bit too flat on my skin. The hydrate part of it would alarm me normally. I would stay clear of it if I saw this on a stand and I wasn't a YouTuber and I had oily skin. I'd be like, no, I don't want hydrating foundations because they're going to make me extra oily, whereas I have oily skin and it hasn't done that, made my skin extra oily or anything like that. If I didn't actually mention, there's 23 mils in this. I do find that to be possibly the only con that I could come up with. There is less product in this than most foundations, but it is only €10, so it's not really breaking the bank. There's also 23 mils in the Conceal and Define, and I've never made it through one bottle of that, and I have it a year, so it's taken me nearly a year to get through an entire bottle of Conceal and Define. So I don't think I'm going to be rushing through this anytime soon, but I do wear a lot of different foundations, obviously testing them on my channel. Do let me know if you've tried it, what you think of it. I have nothing else I kind of want to say about it. It's a really good foundation. It gets 2 thumbs up for me. I'm very happy because this is the first affordable foundation I have tried in a very long time that I absolutely adore. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any other requests of any foundations or anything you want reviewed on my channel, always let me know because I will get to that for you guys. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I will talk to all you guys in my next video. Mwah! Bye guys.